Enough yapping. Let's get right to the action. And this is going to be a big day for teams. The last chance, only 15 spots available for that grand finals. And already yesterday, you saw action happen very, very quickly. In the upper bracket, though, things have slowed down massively. And I expect that to continue here in the lower bracket.
We don't have to wait long at all for any action, as now Howley, MrSavage up against Mongraal and Savage. Who is going to get the weapon? Who is going to get the chest? It's Howley, but he gets shot at. It's Savage chasing him down.
That's going to be a good amount of opening damage. Not trying to let him get the big pot that I do think he might have saw him grab. And this is where it's going to get very, very risky to continue the chase. They're below ground, one level underneath at the first floor of the building. Howley takes the first couple of shots. Savage doing good, grabbing these angles. Mongraal hot on his heels, making sure you don't take the fight alone. But Savage is going to go down. Mongraal stuck by himself. 136 effective shield and HP, but he's in a 1v1 now. Somehow, some way, MrSavage gets traded off, and it's Mongraal. He's actually going for the revive first.
1 versus 1. The issue is there's another duo, and they know there's an engagement going on. They are just waiting for the right opportunity to strike in the third party, as Mongraal now has the HP and shield advantage.
Yeah, the question is, did that third party see Mongraal actually go down, or I should say Savage by himself? That's gonna be a great opportunity to third party 2 different solos, but I don't think they have that much information. Howley knows the revive is trying to be had. He quickly breaks through the build to at least scare him off. He wants to let it go through in terms of an elimination, but Mongraal knows it's not gonna be easy. Runs back up, finishes the fight against Howley, saves the day, but Kovacs and Stan are not too far off.
Will they take the decision to go push this engagement? They saw the feed. They saw that a player from each duo was knocked, but it's not enough to give them the confidence to go in.
Great start, Mongraal and Savage. Even Kovacs and Stan, you can add them to that mix as well. They were able to steal away one of those 2 eliminations. At least 4 points. Surge, not a bunch because it was an off-spawn battle, but at least something to get their game going.
DKS Vox now. Down by Ritzy. Looks like they do have a potential engagement here off the start, but it's nothing that they're in an urgency to go for. Right now, focus is loot up, farm up, and take shots when you can to get that damage.
And you're seeing Vox kind of save those EMP grenades. And the reason why is he's waiting for that team to move off, and then he's going to go over to the vending machine, use those to get gold. Unless they push him, then he would use them on the offensive end, but that's going to be the primary kind of use for them in this situation. King, Phaser, Reckless, Railways already going to claim that as their own. You see them kind of leaving the vault. Gotta imagine they have the Mythic Hyper SMG and the Medallion with them as well. Question is, are they going to go for the Forecast Tower? Are they brave enough for that, or just continue on with the rest of their game without it?
I mean, this is huge. It's so early on, but it looks like... I wonder if they got most of Reckless on Con, as it seems they've taken the NPC quite quickly here. There is a duo close by. You said it yourself. Next objective now, after you get out of your off-spawn engagements, just looking for that Forecast Tower. And next up, the combat caches. So rotates are already beginning now. Nishatini already with mobility.
And they're looking in the direction of that Forecast Tower. But I do see a team already boxed up in that position. So it's going to be a huge risk if anybody tries to move over and contest them. But it's a risk that could be worth it. Day 2 yesterday, Pink and Vico fought for it all day long. And in the final moments in the 5th game, they used that to propel themselves to victory. Plus a good clutch. Everybody here being able to see that. Steal some strategies. Anything that you can to kind of get yourself as far as possible. Noya Heine pushing a team off, but it's just that persistence, the annoyance from that team getting the last couple shots before they fully disengage.
Shots back and forth. If we look at the upper bracket, the 3 games that were played prior to this, it was top 25 to qualify, but if we look at top 15, it was 94 points. So if we're using that as a basis, it should be close to 100 points to make it into that top 15 here and qualify to the grand finals. So there's quite a lot of work to do, but if you start off with 8 points just from those 2 eliminations like Puttasai and Snazy, it already gives you a good start to the race.
And you got to imagine, since it was an off-spawn battle, they at least have 200 damage. in terms of surge, maybe more depending on how it went. But Stan Kovacs rotated away from the ship-it station. Nitrox, Fishy, they catch one person off guard. They make it look easy. Now Kovacs gonna be stuck by himself. A monster shot can be fired. Now they're fighting through the window. Kovacs is trying to get away, but it's not going to be enough. He gets taken down with ease, and it's actually Fast Roki out of nowhere. You don't even see him on the minimap that was able to steal that one away.
Good way to finish it off. We'll take a look at the forecast tower now, though. Spinaldo, his duo partner. Looks like with no elims on the board, they might have just got it free. They were the first ones there. Nobody wants to contest them. This is going to give them that advantage to see where the circles appear before they actually do. Kind of like a little head start to rotate early. So it's going to be good for them.
One of many forecast towers around the map. Chronos, Spinaldo claim it as themselves. And that's what happens when you get there early. You're able to base up and kind of claim it as your own. Robot and Axe Force, not too far away from Snooty Steps, claiming yet another one of our forecast towers around the map. And that's why I'm looking at these teams. They're able to think much more into the future because of the forecast tower. So hopefully their game plan can match the amount of information that they're gathering here.
79 players up, 40 duos. The first match of uppers was the most stacked match we've seen throughout the qualifiers and the semifinals. If we look back at Kiaro Gabix, Lavish Lair, looks like it's theirs now.
Yeah, and what a great start to their game here in game one. Really setting themselves up, and there's really not too many teams around Lavish Layer as well, so they can go ahead and loot up as much as possible before they go ahead and rotate on over. But there are a few teams in the distance. It's not as clear as one would hope. There's one going to be right in front of them, and maybe they heard those shots coming over from Lavish Layer, and you can see that they're looking in that direction. They may not know exactly where they're at, but they know something's up.
Big shields coming through. Good amount of med kits. We've seen how powerful heal-offs can be in the last moments of these matches. So it's very good if you're able to get those heals early and not have to rely on eliminations in the late game to secure them. As now, even with those extra elims, that damage, it opens up a lot more flexibility on your rotations. And look at Chicho. What a nice position here. So much vision of all the duos that are going to be rotating through here shortly.
Yeah, they were one of the few teams as well that switched up their drop spot, landing Hazy Hillside in the beginning, upper bracket, going up against, I think it was Pablo and Bevies. They got pushed off. They eventually switched up their drop over towards Ruined Wheels. And now they kind of give themselves more room to work with, a little bit more center towards the zone. You can see the amount of material they're able to gather because they build a monument in the sky to try to help with their surge plan. And that's one of the things I feel like they were lacking on their way to some of those end games is the surge. But like I said before, this is probably one of the harder lobbies you're going to find surge in throughout the weekend.
All right, Joe taking some shots from both angles here. Forced to use materials on the rotate. It's better that than using a lot of consumables, especially ones you can refarm up. This is why a lot of times you see duos kind of basing up alongside buildings or even rocks or anything that you can refarm your materials that you used on the rotate. But be careful, as that crash pad flowberry combo might have just landed you onto a surprise, but not a dangerous one yet.
Yeah, weapon caches are spawning, so you see why everybody else is doing their best to try to at least make it to the edge of zone where a lot of the weapon caches are going to be boxed up. Phaser King still around Reckless Railways. This time they are going to be in a fight against Shakos and Sky Dune. They don't like what they see, so they immediately try to disengage, and they go and do so almost unscathed, which is surprising since the position that they were in not too long ago. And they immediately set up shop once again towards Reckless. They were able to get the zone early on, and they're trying to get the most out of it as they can.
King and Phaser, one of my favorite duos coming in today. They have a lot of experience on their home region in Brazil. I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. Chapter 2, Season 4, 11 VRs out of 12 matches played out in the qualifiers. They took it home. They have that consistency. They have that potential. But in a new home ground, are they going to be able to do something similar? They placed incredibly well in the first week of the qualifiers at 33, but did the opposite in the second week. Now that it's their last chance to make it to the grand finals, Will they be able to make something happen?
Yeah, just gonna have to figure out a way to get just a little bit more consistent throughout this next 3 games. No longer winning you're in, it's just top 15. But it sounds a lot easier than it actually is. Psycho Rico just getting pressured and they take him down solo by himself. That's just kind of the name of the game when you get caught off guard by a full aggressive team.
Looking back, MrSavage. In terms of loadout, it could be better for consumables. Ammunition is all right, but it's kind of on the edge here. Getting me a little stressed out, Jacob. I'm not going to lie, but 4 points on the board. They already got that elimination right off the start. Continuing to farm up on the rotate. They're in a good position. A lot of duos in the surrounding area, but the issue is so many changes in elevation here. They want to get one that permits them to have that vision on the duos rotating through.
Almost seems like that off-spawn battle really costed them a lot, even though they did win and they're able to keep themselves alive. A lot of the materials lacking, empty item slots, not a lot of heals, so they're gonna have to figure out where they're gonna get those from, since it does look like they're just so far away from a possible weapon cache. That's not gonna be their plan, so they're gonna have to think about something and pull out some sort of trick underneath their sleeve if they're looking to come out on top. Uwe, Tino. Very, very similar thing, but they're just getting tagged up from all directions. Multiple opportunities to get shots with the smart pistol, but nobody is really kind of letting him get away with it.
Misha Tini crouched up together. Is this going to open up an opportunity for a couple eliminations? Heine close by. You have to be careful which door you knock on, as his duo partner might have just had a quick peek, but I don't think he saw them, Jacob.
Probably heard him there, especially now that they fire back-to-back shots in a timely fashion. Misha, Teeny, see Heine running away, and they're just not getting over-aggressive. These are the strats that you kind of know this team for, but they're switching it up. They're throwing wrenches. Instead of doing it off-spawn, instead of doing it exactly in the loop path, they're cutting out new teams every single time to try to find the elimination, and Heine tried to rotate to safety. He ends up going against Uguay and his duo against another box, and now he's fighting to keep himself alive in this game. Everything comes chopping down, tries to use the grapple blade. Damage going back and forth between the two, but he's still just majorly outnumbered here, and Uguay just won't give up on this pressure.
Chop, chop, keep coming through. Builds breaking down. The 2x FNCS champ now with another elib. Actually, first one on the board, but hopefully more to come. That's a quick 4 points, and that damage needed to lessen up the stress.
This is just the unfortunate thing. You just run away from one team, right into the palm of the hands of another. But I keep this game going. Demas, Serene, boxed up not too far away from Blaha and Yapko. But neither team realistically in zone, so they still got more ground to cover. Even if they want to cover that ground, because it does look like Yapko, Blaha get a little comfortable in that position. I thought so. They don't want to take that risky fight, especially when they're this close to zone already. They're going to rotate and try to gatekeep anybody out as soon as they find a spot they're comfortable with.
You can see the amount of duos checking out the bottom right on the mini-map that are rotating through here. You might be able to hide in the bush. You might be able to build a box, but once you get cracked, the pressure is on. The focus is on you. That's quickly replacing those wooden structures, 2 metal ones. That's going to make it a lot safer. But right now, these duos are just looking for trades, looking for damage. They do not want to get eliminated here.
And by getting damage here in situations that you at least have some control over, just allows you to do just that. Keep control over your game instead of being below surge so many times. Today alone in the upper bracket, we've seen teams forced to go for a fight in which they might not have chosen to make if they were above on that surge. So it's very, very important throughout the course of the game, whether you're rotating or not, behind zone or not, to figure out a way to get that surge one way or another. Podesai by himself. Did see Snazy go down in the feed. So he's going to be stuck as a solo. The only question we have for ourselves is, does he have Snazy's reboot card? Because we've seen plenty of attempts throughout the weekend.
Podesai, it's all up to you. Duo partner has been knocked out. Looking so strong off the start with the 2 elims. But Jacob, we've seen miracles happen this weekend from the triple reboot. Merstash Malabuka. I would not be surprised if we see something similar happen here. As you can see, the duos once again positioned in their elevated locations, just hunting for that damage.
Yeah, you can see him really not peeking. Usually in the beginning of the game, you split a POI. You kind of feel a little bit more comfortable peek, trade those shots, especially knowing you have extra heals down below or even in your inventory. Everybody at this stage, they're susceptible to sniper shots, getting beamed by multiple teams, so it's just a huge risk. And if you don't need the Storm Surge, which some of these teams don't, it might be better not to peek through unless you kind of use a cone and are trying to gather any information that you can.
Setting up. Crash pad Flowberry rotate, but your opponent saw it. They're taking shots. Be careful. All it takes is one and the crash pad gets taken out. They keep trying, but they're unable to. 142, 90 below. This is getting more and more stressful, Jacob.
Yeah, that would have been such a great opportunity to get the surge, crash pad, land on a team, make it possible. Now the only one within distance that they're trying to run, DKS, they spot him out, but they're still trying to make their way forward. Sky Jump, Sky Dune, they're close by as well. Still 58 below the damage threshold. There's a couple teams that still need to go down as well.
Big pots getting put to good use here. You can see it's Vox close by, DKS, and in front of them, another duo taking pop shots. They're figuring out, you know, what's the play? We got to do something. 25 below, it's not a lot of damage. You don't need eliminations here. You could just take some shots, a small box fight without committing anything too risky. But as the duos from afar continue applying the pressure, Axforce puts himself in a dangerous situation, opening up the potential of getting boxed, going straight on Endo. Can they secure the elims from this? They do.
That is a massive win. Not only does it settle the Storm Surge, they're not gonna have no loot anymore because they found a weapon cache that had just opened when they got there. So the other team didn't really get a chance to utilize it just yet. Perfect timing from Roban. Let's see what he can do as he gets back into this game. King stuck by himself, trying to box himself up into a bush. Belusi not too far off on the other side. In fact, a lot of teams as King finds himself as close to the center as you could possibly be without actually being there.
I don't like the looks of this, having lost a teammate. But we know what King is capable of. All it takes is a decent amount of points. They have 3 opportunities, Jacob. There's 3 matches to be played out. It's not like the previous 2 days where it's a winner-takes-all golden ticket format from the Victory Royale. It's just consistency. You need to be consistent. But when you're missing damage, when you're missing a duo partner, when you don't have those med kits, a lot of those shields, it just makes it increasingly more difficult.
Yeah, I really don't know where King is going to be able to get this surge and go through unscathed. That's going to be the thing. Even center of zone, I think teams are starting to notice he is a solo, and they go ahead and try to aggress towards the box side of the box into the bush. He tries to drop down low into safety, but it's not as safe as he thought. Arc plans a good shot. I did lose Daisy Podeside, putting some shots in that direction as well. Prism is going to be able to get a knock onto another player. King still finding a way to stay alive, but they know exactly where he's at, and they continue to put down that pressure. A lot of his builds being expended along the way as well. The luckily thing for him is he's 62 above the damage threshold now because of that team pushing up onto him. If he could just figure out a way to stay alive, this will be huge for King and Phaser.
The 60s drop down to 30, though. Is it going to keep dropping? As luckily enough, it goes back up to 82. King might just be able to hold on here. 58 players up still in this 7th zone. You can see, though, it's pulled back to the Snowy Mountains, southeast side of the map. The majority of the duos have to make a far rotate.
See replay, 67 above. It's not a ton of surge, but it's not just one elimination he was able to get. It was 2, and he saved the day. Hopefully he can get Yapko back up and back into the game. See Spinaldo on the side, forecast tower. Hopefully it's been used very fruitfully for him in his rotations. He's just on the side of the mountain, so got to imagine so. Savage Mongraal, not too far off, but still not in the best position. No heals onto Mongraal. Got to imagine the same thing for Savage, especially with DKS going and boxing up right above them. I feel like their thought right now, Scotty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is where are we going to find elimination? Because we need heals.
The good news is, due to the far pull, almost a majority of the lobby has has to do a far rotate. If they could only elevate themselves up a bit more, it's just too late now with all the duos in the surrounding area. They need a bit more vision of these duos rotating in to take those shots. Although they do hear some action close by, they're wondering, can we drop down one of them? Can we find something? It's King, though, that's lost his shield. The pressure is on him, 80 below as well. Nothing is in King's favor in the moment.
Yeah, he's even running out of builds. The only thing he really has going for him is the medallion. So all the time he was able to buy, he's able to stagger and get himself back up, finds Lunix at the backside of zone. He needs those materials. Great play for him to be aware enough to pick those up. He still has the one med kit in his inventory. And since he is a solo, these are important impact points at the end of the day, after the end of the 3 games, depending on where they're positioned. We look at a game like this and what King is able to do.
Huge impact from King, instantly building 2 metal boxes here, making sure he's secured enough to pop this med kit. Now he's been put 162 above. With all odds against King's favor, he's still making something happen.
Yeah, and he's saving those 7 ticks from the Flowberry Fizz for his rotation, save a lot of those builds. It's a sacrifice in terms of the shield and HP, so it does make him susceptible to one shot. But those are the risks you're willing to take, especially as a solo. Blaha, same position, looking towards the backside of zone, spots out a couple teams, and this is where he has to make the perfect decision of when and where to rotate. You rotate too early, you become the focus of the lobby. You rotate too late, same thing happens.
Blaha now is seeing all the rotations come through. He has the freedom to kind of wait a little bit and decide more on the rotate rather than just taking blind shots. Mongraal, though, getting boxed up with opponents, but it doesn't matter. Those are eliminations for him. 2 on the board now, 102 above, and picked up 3 medkits. This is massive.
Yeah, what a find it was. Mythic loot as well. Not sure if the medallion was able to be dropped there, but that would have been a huge find if it does. Medkits being used. You're seeing him kind of get dished around. Mongraal passing those on over to Savage. King's still alive. He was able to get out of a tough spot moments ago, above the damage threshold, and he's keeping things moving. Finally, he's gotten himself some placement points, but there's still about 10, 15 teams he's has to outlast to make this solo run worth it.
I've seen this before, Jacob. It might have been in a dream, but I've seen King pop off in these situations. Already 186 above, somehow has made it into zone from the situation he was in earlier on. 64 builds to work with. He could use a bit more shields, but it's nothing a refresh can't help.
And you see Axe Force and Roban. Not ultimate high ground just yet, but they are on the front side of zone. They have the first sense of that high ground, the biggest elevated team. King gets pressured again, and it's the medallion that is the biggest difference keeping King alive. That Reckless Railways off-spawn drop that they got uncontested this game is paying dividends.
Zone keeps pulling east. It could have a drastic change in elevation if it continues to do so. Blaha, 59 below now. He was comfortable earlier on, but is forced to take shots now as the number keeps increasing. The pressure keeps increasing as well. And he's going to be able, or he's going to have to make something happen shortly here.
Yep, late rotate with the grapple blade going up the mountain. For a lot of teams, that is going to be a nightmare, but he's just trying to get to the front side, find somebody, but it's he who gets found. Shot is going to drain his shields just like that, while Savage and Mongraal fighting for the high ground, going up against Belusi, but they choose not to continue to engage in this just yet. They're holding their position before they figure out what's next.
Now at second height. Will they go ahead? Will they look back for shots? Are they trying to chop? What is the game plan here? And it's King that's still up with another knock. Another 4 points on the board once he secures the elimination, but he goes down with 22.
That is huge considering when Phaser went down, there were no points on the board for them. Blaha tried to do the same thing. 28 so far, 3 eliminations, and still finding a way to stay towards the front side of the zone. Has to be careful though. Doesn't want anybody to know he's a solo because that is going to be an easy elimination if they try to 2v1 into the box. Savage, Mongraal still finding a way to slide through a lot of these builds and stay alive. This is going to be huge for their points on that leaderboard.
Waterfall down the mountain in this current zone. You have to be careful if you're elevated. You can't use that grapple blade to drop down. It's going to be exactly what Savage and Mongraal are doing here, but they're still hungry for high ground. They're looking for that shot to connect. If Mongraal can land a headshot with this sniper, it could be game-changing.
Persistence is going to be the name of the game, and that's exactly what they're doing. Finally, everything comes crashing down. Shots being fired. A couple are going to connect from Mongraal, and this is their chance. They go ahead and grab it for a moment, but they instantly lose it as they get chopped down, but they're not giving up. Savage trying to take it from the backside. Mongraal from the front. They Savage Belusi. The damage is there, but Mongraal Mongraal gets dropped all the way to the low ground, once again leaving Savage as a solo.
Savage, though, took out Belusi, has that Elam on the board. Issue is no materials, has to hide. One med kit, can play the heal off, goes for the finish. 4 extra points, materials now secured. Not much, though. Climbing up the mountain, can he hold on?
A huge switch up from their upper bracket run where they failed to qualify to the grand finals by 1 point. Those eliminations would have qualified them, so better late than never. Heal off beginning on the side of the mountain. Teeny just trying to give himself a fighting chance. Everybody else other than Savage is towards the backside of zone, continuing to slide down, but there's no builds. Can't protect himself. Roban's going to be the first one trying to challenge him on that high ground. Gavix is second. Grapple Blade is going to be used by Savage and go up and over to stay alive.
Savage, are you kidding me right now? He continues to climb as there's just 1 player left in the zone, healing off. And it looks like if Savage can stay up, it's Teeny. 1 grapple blade, 2. Will he be able to make it back? Savage, cancel him and takes the VR.
8 eliminations for Mongraal and Savage and a huge VR to take the game. It's been almost 2 years, Takata, since we've seen Mongraal on the FNCS stage. And man, it's like riding a bike. He still got it.
What a way to start off the day. MrSavage and Mongraal feeling extra confident now with that boost in the first match. With 2 more games to go, all they got to do is hold their crown.
And you got to imagine, once you go through an upper bracket like we've seen to start the day off and fail to qualify by 1 point, 1 placement, 1 elimination would have changed the tides for them. But they're definitely making up for it by starting off big in the lower bracket with a huge VR, and it came through because of their aggression, because of their ability to take risks.
97 points. The cutoff for top 15 in the uppers was 94, and they are already close.
Yep, this one here is going to be a close race for the next couple of games. Takata with a huge win by Mongraal and Savage. You have to imagine they're at the top of the leaderboard, but who else is there with them inside of that top 15? I'm going to throw it on over to our lovely analyst to break down game 1.